Welcome to the FemiNinja Project. I am your host, Cheryl I Love, middle-aged ninja hiding in plain sight, dedicated to restoring human dignity one person at a time and helping you unleash your personal power. Discover that it's possible to look like a woman, act like a lady, move like a ninja, and think like a warrior. And remember, men are always welcome on the FemiNinja Project. Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And as you know by now, I love sharing stories of empowerment, of self-care, of just finding your strength and being able to stand your ground and find your voice. And today's guest knows a lot about that. Her name is Hollie Clere. She is an author, speaker, consultant, strategist, founder and owner of the Social Media Advisor. She is also a huge proponent for self-advocacy, and she's going to tell us all about it, tell us her story, and give us some incredible, valuable tips and advice. So, Hollie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's such an honor to be here. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to have you. You are one of my favorite people, and we can go into why later. But the last time I started to tell you that, we both got a little choked up, and I just don't do emotions.
That's fair.
Okay. So, Hollie, just go ahead and tell us your story and why you are such a huge proponent of self-advocacy.
Yes, it's a big deal knowing your body and knowing that it's okay to ask hard questions to doctors so that you can get the right answers. So I had 3.5 years ago, I had a journey, and the journey started off in a lot of pain. I was very uncomfortable, had issues, major issues with like bloating, urinary issues, bowel issues, feeling upset, not being able to eat. And I saw my primary care doctor, and I was diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And so we went through the process of changing my diet because surely I must have allergies to all sorts of different foods. And, in fact, they did find that I don't have certain enzymes to break down certain things like spicy or dairy or fried things. So there's that. But I knew that there was something else going on, and they weren't giving me the answer. We couldn't find anything else. So I asked for a referral to a gyno, well, how do I describe? It's like an IBS doctor, like a specialist for the internal body, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got this introduction. I went to visit him, and instantly he said, let's do a colonoscopy, kind of dive deeper. So we did the process. They found a couple polyps, but it wasn't where they were diving in, was not at all where my issues were. I felt like I had a baby where babies don't grow, and that sounds kind of stupid, but there was something there where I had children before, so I knew that the feeling of having something inside, right? Mm-hmm. And so with those results, I came back and he saw me and he said, you've really lost a lot of additional weight. And I'm concerned about that. And I think I know what direction this is going to go, but I need to get you in front of a gynecological oncologist. Oh. An oncologist, I'm thinking, oh Lord, right? Well, so they did. They did an MRI over the area that I was complaining about. And I sat down with this gorgeous doctor, and he's so pretty. And of course, I'm sitting there, anxious and tears, and he had such a calming demeanor about him. And he looked at me and he said, Hollie, do you ever want to have any more babies? And I'm thinking, I have teenagers. I cannot be pregnant. Is that what it is? And I said, I don't know. You tell me. And he's like, well, there's a couple of factors going on here. First of all, your uterus is dying, so you wouldn't be able to actually have children. But there's something else that we found. And he said, it's a growth. And it's pretty substantial. Mm. And he described it as a teratoma tumor, which is a tumor on my ovary. And he said, it's about 3 times the size of your uterus. We need to remove it, and we can then biopsy it to determine what stage this tumor is in. And we did. Within a week, I was in the hospital. I was getting my surgery, and I woke up and I felt like a different person. I had a full hysterectomy, and they left an ovary. And I know this is a lot of detail, but it's important to know.
Mm-hmm.
So they taken my monster baby, and what they found is I was almost at stage 2. Had I been at stage 2, they would have taken lymph nodes. They would have taken, I would have had chemotherapy treatment, possible radiation for the next 18 months. And I share all this because my journey started off where I was in so much pain and I could not get answers. And I was told I was wrong about my body. It's not what you're experiencing. It's the food you're eating. It's it's all the other things. When in fact, it was a monster growing inside of me.
So let me ask you this, because you refer to it as a monster growing inside of you,
Yes.
or at a monster baby.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that, if that's okay?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy and kind of gross. So, bear yourself. That teratoma in Greek means monster. And in fact, when they went to biopsy this tumor, teratoma, it was called monster for a reason, because it has parts and things inside of it from human organs. So it's very potentially possible that I had this ever since I was born, and that it just progressively ended up growing. In my tumor, there was red hair. And sometimes they find remnants of teeth. Yeah. And I'd asked him, I said, is this a baby? Is this a baby I created? And he said, no, in fact, it was not. It's around the outside of it. But he said, it's amazing because you were able to get pregnant so easily, both times.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, usually when we see some sort of a growth like this on an ovary, there's complications with getting pregnant. And so he's like, this is really a miracle. And, the things that came after that, I didn't feel like a woman again because I didn't have my uterus, and nobody could see it. Like, you get a mastectomy, people know, but they couldn't see my pain. So this whole journey of healing after that was, how do I trust the doctors? How do I feel like a woman? How do I stand up for myself when I'm not feeling good again? How do I know who to ask the right questions to? And that's why I talk about self-advocacy, because of the fact that my journey was so painful and there was so much starvation through it all, because I wasn't able to eat. I was constantly in pain going to the bathroom, and all the things. There's only 4 symptoms to ovarian tumors, and none of them are what you think. I talk to people all the time who say, I had a clean pap smear the last 3 years. That's great for your cervix, but this isn't checking your ovaries. And there's no test that can, unless it's visual, unless you are tested genetically for the BRCA gene. And the third way is a specific blood test, but that doesn't even indicate whether you've got a true positive or not. The only way you can truly know is by documenting how your body feels over a 2-month time span, and then getting to a specialist.
So what are some of the things that would be clues that women who are listening right now can write down and be aware of, so they can tune into their body and track themselves if something feels a little bit amiss?
Yes. The biggest thing is first of all, consistency, because it doesn't just go away. So all the symptoms I'm going to talk about are all things that we as women experience all the time. Number 1, fatigue. Number 2, difficulty eating. Number 3, urinary and bowel issues. Number 4, bloating.
And if I can just interject.
Yeah.
A lot of times when women present with these complaints, go to the doctor, oftentimes it's just like, well, that's typical or that's normal. And these are things that I've heard over the course of, I don't know how many, 30, maybe 40 years of my lifetime. And if you had not taken those steps and really pursued, I need to look into this more, I think something else is wrong. I mean, you really spoke up for yourself. you could have been in stage 2 or worse.
That's why they call it the silent killer, because it's very difficult to diagnose, and the new diagnosis options are just so limited. Most women find out about their tumor by the time they're hitting stage 4.
Oh.
And it's just because and I think about the pain that they endured for that long, and to get turned away and turned away and turned away. And then finally you have an answer and it's stage 4. That's rough. So I found a lot of connection through some communities here. One is a community called Hister Sisters on Facebook. And that was a community for all women that are either preparing to or have had hysterectomies. And there's videos that talk about what to expect before surgery, what to expect after surgery, how to really honor yourself in the healing process, because it's not a week.
No.
In fact, mine was 15 weeks. 15 weeks before I could function normally. And there, knowledge is power. People think that there's a loss or you have a surgery and then a week later you're up and going and everything's good. But there's grace that comes with that. And unfortunately, patience is key, and just document. The other community is called COCA, Colorado Ovarian Cancer Alliance. And they host tons of workshops. Their Facebook page is filled with all sorts of tips and inspiring messages, as well as once a year, they host a race called Jody's Race. And it's usually the first week in June. And this last year we did it virtually, and it was the 11th year. And Jody was someone who started the organization, who passed of ovarian cancer. And so it's really a way for friends and family to show up for their loved ones who have passed, or the loved ones who are going through treatment, and really walk in honor. And it's the most beautiful thing. Every single, you want to wear teal, you want to wear all the teal. And they walk up, the people who are there volunteering walk up to you. And you know if there's a survivor, because they've got the teal beads on, and everyone supporting usually has a team shirt, right? And so they walk up to you and they embrace you. And they say, "You are heard. You are loved."
That is so important. And especially when you're talking about, it's not a week, it took you 15 weeks to heal. Everybody heals at a different rate, of course, but the emotional impact and the psychological impact of going through something like a hysterectomy, I think, is so underrated. And I think a lot of people don't understand, it's like, well, just have it ripped out and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And even a lot of women along the way, because I was recommended to have one several times. And fortunately, I didn't have the pathology that would require one. But a lot of women would just say, just get rid of it. I feel so much better. And it's just like, what are you hanging on to this thing for? And I can't understand how they would feel that way when this is part of you. This is part of your body. It's part of your femininity. It's part of, being a woman. I mean, they wouldn't say that to a man who had to have a testicle removed.
No, they wouldn't. Right. They wouldn't. And in fact, they don't enjoy, the doctors, the oncologist said it's not the preferred method of doing things. That when you still have your pieces intact, you're now going through normal hormonal cycles. I have one ovary left, and it flared up tremendously after the surgery with a cyst, because it was like, wait, where's the rest of me, right? And it took a long time for that to dissipate and start to disappear. And I am going through early menopause at 42. I've been going through it for the last 3 years since my surgery. So I can sit here and have hot moments and hot flashes and be this age, right? And so, yes, I believe that you've got to get multiple opinions. And mine definitely was an urgent situation. And, something important to note too, that just don't have a uterus, just because you might not have an ovary does not mean that you are not susceptible to abdominal tumors.
Good to know.
I still have to go in and get my blood tested. And if I'm not feeling well, I have to document it still, just like I did before. Because if it's consistent over 2 to 4 weeks, I need to go down and get a scan done.
Mm-hmm. So when you say document, and I think this is something I really want you to elaborate a little bit more about, because some people might think, okay, well, she's had her surgery, she's done, and you just don't have to record any of that anymore. So talk about the importance of being able to document and to keep documenting every single day, because I think it's so important, just not only your physical self, but physically, mental, emotional, cognitive, whatever is going on in your life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this incredible manuscript, but just a few, little blurbs or sentences about what's going on.
Yes. So COCA, Colorado Ovarian Cancer Alliance.org, their website actually has a sheet for you to start a journal with. And so it has on there, you can put in there the food, the times of the day you ate the food, the type of food it was, how much water you drank, how you were feeling. Were you feeling fatigued? Were you also having bloating issues? And you know that by the waistband of your jeans, right? It's not necessarily the weight of the scale, but there was a lady that I served. I do volunteer work with COCA for 9 Health Fair here in Colorado. And she never gained anything except for the waistline. The weight never changed, but she continued. Well, she lost weight because she wasn't eating, and the waistline kept going, right? So yeah, we documented like the time, how much sleep I got, the different times I ate, what I was eating, if I did any physical activity, if I was having any issues going to the bathroom, what that felt like. And then on a good day, I document what was good on that day. And, sometimes some of the food attributed to my issues, I like hot sauce and I love cheese, right? So that contributed a little bit, but it wasn't the underlying factor. The same thing consistently, same emotion, heat, soreness, not being able to chew, not being able to swallow, feeling nauseous after different things. Everyone's experience is totally different. But when you're intentionally in that space of looking at the pages, and it takes 2 seconds to write down, oh, here's what's on my plate. Oh, and here's how many glasses of water I had. And here's about the time I ate. It only takes a few seconds, but you can see in the history of that, all right, so I've been feeling like crud for at least 3 weeks now. Okay. You might have a good day in between, but if it's continuing, the only way you're going to know is by documenting, because today I could be feeling really, really great, and tomorrow not, and then the day after not, and then the day after not. And then I don't remember how long it has been since I felt really good. But that again goes to knowing your body.
Exactly. And you kind of lose track of when you're not feeling well. If you even have a run of a few days, it seems like it's been a really long time since you've had a good day.
Yeah. And it kind of can seem like it hasn't been that long since I had a good day. But really, it's been weeks. It's been weeks. You hadn't even realized it.
Wow. So I'm kind of thinking a little bit more about what we can share with the audience as far as education. You have given us so much information already, but you keep going back to knowing your body and understanding your body. And to me, that is so, so important, because just that self-awareness and really being able to pay attention to your body and how it feels can help you become that advocate for yourself. And to be your own, because I always tell people, you are your own expert. Nobody knows you as well as you do. Nobody knows your own body and how it feels and what you put it through every day.
Yes.
So to be able to take those steps, to be able to feel what's going on with yourself. And I think a lot of that means take some time to really turn off the devices, have some quiet time, get away from the noise, get away from the family, do whatever you need to do to be able to really focus on yourself, to be able to breathe and have a little bit of space. And I think that's where it starts. A lot of people really advocate and recommend meditation. I don't meditate well. It's just not something I can do, but I can go outside and sit and listen to the birds and the leaves, and the wind, that type of thing.
Yes. I'm a big water baby, so I will sit next to the water. In fact, while I was waiting to figure out what everything was, I spent that last 6 months actually going into a daily soak. And that might really resonate with some people too, a soak is intended, they called it a sitz bath. So along with all of it, there were hemorrhoids and different things. Well, the best way to ease that is some Epsom salts and some warm water for 20 minutes at a time. And so what I would do is I would turn off the lights and I would light some candles and I would have some yummy smells in the Epsom salts, the essential oils, if you will. And then I would turn on YouTube and I would listen to the dolphins' sounds. There's actual YouTube videos of dolphins singing for like a good solid hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's my favorite animal in the whole world.
Oh, mine too.
Right?
I know. I got to swim with the dolphins one time.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Thank you. It was wonderful. It was just an incredible experience.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You said in those 6 months. So it took 6 months to get the diagnosis and to get everything taken care of until you had the surgery?
Yes. So before the 6 months of sit baths, we were playing with allergy stuff.
Okay.
Good, solid. It was probably a 9-month window before surgery at this point. So about 3 months playing with that. And I got really tired of it. Tired of, the blood tests and the allergy tests and the trying this diet and that diet and eliminate this and eliminate that. And it takes time to go through that process. But even before I was allowed to receive a referral for that next doctor, I had to go through that process. Had I been really standing in my own empowerment, really in my own woman power, I would have said at that time, I don't believe this is nutrition. I really would like a referral to a specialist who can work with me on the bowel issues that I'm having. He would have done an exam on me, which when he did, that's why he said, after this exam, I really need to do a colonoscopy. And that's what led to the next. But I was not freely offered the referral. It was like, well, you do this first, then we'll see. Well, time goes by now. Time goes by. And it can really add up. And that was a lot. Come Thanksgiving before my surgery, had my surgery March 20th. And the Thanksgiving before, I had for the first time gotten the opportunity to cook for my parents Thanksgiving dinner, because it was always my mom. She always did it. And she said, sure, I'll let you do it. So I did all the things. I brined the turkey for 24 to 48 hours, and made the special stuffing with the meats and I did all the things. And I felt so good. And I was serving my family because I have a servant's heart. And we sat down. Everyone's got food on the plates. And I sat down and I looked at my mom and I said, I need to lay down. She's like, what happened? I was like, walk me to the couch. And I stretched out. And that's when I felt the baby where babies don't grow. Oh. And I couldn't eat the whole rest of the day or the next day. And I forced myself to take a couple of bites of food the following day. And I got nauseous. And it was like, okay, we need to move forward. What's next? This cannot ever happen again.
When you asked your mom to walk you to the couch, was it because you were so weak, or were you just
I felt like I was going to fall over. The pain was essential to, I'm not sure if you know, but your ovaries float. And with the weight of them, they can turn. So imagine, if you will, a fist that's turning, but now turning on your other organs. And so I was buckled. I was buckled and couldn't straighten. And so I needed them to stretch me out as in a slow, painful process. But then I found the stretching out, the sit baths, those were helping with the emotion and the stress. And the more stressed I got, the more tense the turning got. Of course.
That always makes it worse. That always makes pain worse, is the stress with the muscles tensing and the stress hormones and everything. And I've experienced ovarian cysts before, and which weren't fun, but they self-resolved. But I also had something called adenomyosis.
What is that?
And it's really similar to endometriosis, where with endometriosis, the uterine lining is kind of like scattered outside the, in the pelvis and, outside of the uterus. And with adenomyosis, it actually grows through your endometrium, grows through the walls of the uterus.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So it would be like doubling over kind of pain. And I could remember several times when I was at work and, as a respiratory therapist, and I remember being in ICU one time as a pediatric ICU, this little boy, I was giving him a breathing treatment and I was trying not to double over and I was hanging onto the bed rail and my knuckles were white and he just looked at me and he says, "Do you have a tummy ache?" And I just lost it. I burst into tears. I'm like, this poor little kid's in ICU and here I am complaining of, this. And of course I was told for years that I was crazy, I was making it up, and I was drug seeking or I needed psychological help because there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. So I wasn't diagnosed until I was 47.
That's a long time.
That's a very long time when you've been complaining about it since you were 23. And it was finally a doctor who was smart and they found it on an ultrasound. And she told me, she says, "We never see this on an ultrasound because your case is so advanced. Nobody ever lets it get to that degree because it's so painful." And she says, "We could actually see varicosities on the outside of your uterus."
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I feel justified. I've been complaining all these years. I've been told that I'm crazy. At least there is a reason for it. And then right away, she started talking hysterectomy. And I said, whoa, back off. Does this predispose me for cancer? And she goes, "Oh, no." And I said, "Well, will menopause take care of the problem?" And she said, "Well, if you can wait that long." And I said, "I'm 47. I've waited all these years. I think I can wait a few more." And then she said, "Well, let's talk pain control because it's incredibly painful, And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So just a, little bit of pain pills for the next couple of years when I needed it, just, little halves and stuff. And then to me, menopause was a beautiful thing. It was, oh, thank God, bring it on. I'll take the hot flashes. I'll take the mood swings. I've had them all my life. It doesn't really matter. But that was,
and how powerful it would have been if they had the technology when you were 23 years old to be able to say, can we just get an image?
Yeah.
Can we get an image taken?
Well, see, I don't even know if they might have had the technology, but the adenomyosis wouldn't have shown up because it wasn't advanced enough at that time. It would have to be with a hysterectomy and doing the pathological,
Gotcha.
tissue after the surgery. So they wouldn't have known anyhow, but how, empowering it would have had been just to say, hey, there are some other things it could be that, So, but so I really appreciate and respect the fact that you're able to speak out and to help educate women and help them become their own advocate.
Thank you. I knew God, the universe, whoever, whatever it is that you believe, gave me a chance to use the platform that I have to be able to share. I was silent for a very long time and I was ashamed because it wasn't things you talk about.
Right.
It's just not, right? And so in all of it, I've been healing through the process of being able to share my story. In fact, I wrote a chapter in Ready to Fly anthology number 3, talking about this exact topic. And so you get the little goodies of like the doctor, the pretty doctor, and all the moments, and actually journal entries that I made. And I had a Caring Bridge at the time too. And so with all of that, being in the space of doing social media, I have a platform to be able to get this message out to the world. And women need to hear it. And it's just not enough to volunteer for the Night Health Fair and shake the hands of each woman in line and get turned away and say, "Oh, I know about that. Oh, I don't have a uterus anymore. I don't have my ovaries. I don't know. I don't need to know." But you do need to know. You need to know because it's the silent killer. And you need to be able to stand up for yourself. And you know what? There were 7 women that I talked to last year who paused long enough to say, "Well, those are my symptoms I've had for months." I would have never known. And the shocking thing, when I went to Jody's Race online, I saw one of those women that I talked to and she was undergoing chemotherapy, and she was on the race virtually.
Wow.
And it was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Her life got saved.
Wow.
Because of that conversation. And it's not me. It's not me who gets to, I'm just the vessel. I just get to reach out, and it's them who accepts the opportunity to receive the information, right? And then take an action. And that's the key, because we can receive the information. When we don't take action, then we're just absorbing content. Oh, that's good to know. Maybe not even absorbing it. Good to know. I'll keep that in my feather in my cap for a little while. Right?
Wow. So there are two things I want to go back on. I want you to talk about the book.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to elaborate on that a little bit. And then I also want you to elaborate a little bit more about your platform that you have, because you do have quite the platform.
Thank you. So the book is ready to fly. It started off Anahana Publishing, featuring Crystal Blue. She's amazing. She does sound baths and is really into the spirit and healing and going through that process. So she created this as a safe place for women to be able to share their journeys in a chapter. So it's a compilation. Each of the books is a compilation of stories. Women have shared about their breast cancer journeys, abuse journeys as children, abusive relationships. And in the process of sharing something big that they went through, that they buckled down and set aside for years and years, there's a healing process. And it's scary at first. It's scary because it's like, I'm going to open this up. And now I'm going to share it with the world. And what does that look like? But then once it's out there, there's the freedom of knowing, okay, so this message is for someone. Someone will read this, see it, read it, and it will help them in some way. And you don't know how it's going to help them. It's your story. And what it does do, though, is it takes all the cobwebs away from everything and puts the light. It shines the light on the thing that you went through and removes it from the darkness.
Well, and it helps remove some of the shame, because that's one of the things that I experienced over all those years, is that I was really embarrassed and ashamed to even admit that I had pain. You know, because you just don't want to admit that. And then when I was in my mid 30s and I had my back injury, and it was not a specific injury, it was a slow burn, insidious onset. And I wouldn't go to try and get help because I knew I would just be, mocked and degraded and humiliated. So it was like this deep, dark secret. I had to keep it until, finally I couldn't walk. And so I had to seek help. But there is a lot of shame that is wrapped around those secrets that we keep.
Yeah, there is.
And that is so harmful to our mental and emotional well-being.
Absolutely. Because it'll cause all the same symptoms I was just talking about as it was.
Exactly. Okay. So then how can people find the book?
Yes. So on Facebook, just search Ready to Fly Anthology. And you'll see all the books on there. And they're all on Amazon as well. Ready to Fly 1, 2, and 3. And yeah, I don't know if you could search by author, but super beautiful. The artwork is super beautiful. And there's something that flies on the outside of each one. One is a bird, one is a butterfly, and one is a hummingbird. And so, yeah, you can't miss it.
Okay. Now tell us about your platform.
Yes. So I'm a social media strategist and consultant. And I'm on all the things. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Google My Business, LinkedIn. And I get to help people tell their story through the use of social media. And so in the process of sharing and starting to come out of my cocoon, I was able to announce to the world my journey. And I did an unboxing, which when I reached out to Coca, I said, how can I help? I'm a new survivor. And they sent me a box that they sent to every single person that is living with someone or is someone that has ever had a diagnosis around their ovaries. And inside of it are goodies. So you get scarf, you get a hat, you get mittens, you get ginger for that upset tummy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All of the things are handmade. You also get tons of pamphlets and information. You get You get chocolate, you get lotion for your face, just things to make you really feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets it. And so I was just so touched by that. And I was able to gift that to actually a woman who was going through treatment. And very similar thing. She told her family, and the family reached out to me and said, we would love to give that to her. And it really helped her through her treatments. But yeah, through the use of being able to story online, share video, do podcasts, I can reach so many more people through these platforms. And just by sharing that story and being vulnerable and trying to provide as much value as I can.
So I hope you don't mind me mentioning this to my listeners, but I just worked with Hollie. I just finished working with her it's been, like 4 months? No, longer than, 4 or 5 months, to help me boost my social media platform. And Hollie is amazing. Man, you are just, not only you're so knowledgeable, and you're just such an incredible teacher, because you taught me how to do everything. And bless your heart, for you to be teaching this baby boomer who came to technology kicking and screaming the entire way, saying, I can't do this, you did an amazing job. So I cannot thank you enough.
It was a huge honor to get to work with you. And it's been a really fun journey watching you transform. And you're a powerhouse, and you got to stand in that.
Yeah. I think we all have an incredible amount of strength and power within us that we don't even know that we have. And that's part of the message too, that I'm trying to get across when doing these podcasts, and all the fantastic men and women that I'm interviewing, is that we have this incredible source of power just waiting to come out. But we've just kind of especially women, we've kind of just held it down and held it back for so many years that it's hard to really understand what we've got going on.
Yeah. And that's how we were raised, and so my mother knows that that's a message that I talk about, is that's how she was raised. That's how she raised me. We didn't talk about our periods.
Ooh.
Right. We didn't even use the word vagina in our house. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And so I raised my kids, when they started learning words, and they called their pieces the front butt and the back butt. And I had to nip that in the bud. And so, we all talked together about the things that we're experiencing, the growth of things and the changing of our bodies. And it's been an open conversation, and it's a very safe place. They can now tell me, you know what, I'm not feeling so hot today. Okay, so which kind of not hot is it? So we can make you feel more comfortable. And before, it was, okay, so here's a heating pad. Let me know what you need. I don't know how to help, because I didn't talk about it. So all I know is how I felt, right? If we can say the things that are difficult and allow there to be space for safety, I feel that we'll all be a little bit more empowered to be able to support each other a little bit more.
I have to give you the flip side of that, because I was raised with 4 sisters. And my mother was very outspoken. She was very open. Her mother, Eastern European, never talked about sex, or, even when she told her about her period, that was very hard for my grandmother. And my mom decided if she had girls, she was not going to do that. And so she just told us everything, to the point where it's like, okay, that's a little too much information for right now. Let's just stop. But even to this day, my sisters and I will, hey, I got this going on. Have you, experienced this before? So to have that kind of open dialogue with people that that well, is really, it's pretty, it's comforting as well.
That's powerful.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience right now?
Yeah, stand up for yourself. Know that it's okay to have a voice, and you can always get a second opinion, and one answer is not always the right one. So, if you don't like it, ask for a referral to someone else who specializes, and see what their result is. And, if you got 3 and all 3 are saying the same thing, and you've got proof, then you got to make some changes in different ways and find someone else who can figure out the thing. I would love to connect with anyone who's on here. You can find me on all the social channels as the social media advisor, and, just look it up, and I'm happy to have conversation with you. And if you ever private message me and say, I heard this and I just need someone else to just listen, I'm happy to listen and get you connected to the places that can really get you support.
Okay. To the resources.
Yeah.
Hollie, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been so amazing. Oh my gosh. And you got me emotional again.
Sorry.
Not very many people can do that. So thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I just love you and respect you and admire you more than you could ever know. So, oh gosh, we're going to, and I really do want world peace. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And do reach out to Hollie. She is an amazing woman, as you can tell, and check out some of her social media. Her platforms are just incredible. She really does provide really great content, and she is just a fabulous lady. And remember to stand up for yourself, find your voice, speak your mind, and look at all the options. Because that is the way of the FemiNinja. And that's a wrap on another episode of the FemiNinja Project. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, be safe, be strong, and until next time, bye now.